My name's Tony, and I never imagined I'd become the kind of man double-checking his wife's stories. For a decade, Rachel and I crafted a life that looked solid from the outside. A peaceful home, familiar habits, annual vacations. It all seemed stable. I wasn't the jealous type, never the one to pry or second-guess. But the weekend she left for a girls' getaway in Harbor Point, something minor shifted everything. She'd hurried out the door that Friday morning, laughing into her phone, probably chatting with one of her coworkers. A small crossbody bag was slung casually over her shoulder. Nothing out of the ordinary, except for a subtle fragrance in the air. A perfume I didn't recognize. It wasn't anything I'd ever bought her, and I was sure I'd never smelled it around our home. Still, I brushed it off, kissed her cheek, and wished her a fun trip. That night, while straightening up around the house, I noticed her overnight tote still on the bench near the entryway. It was half-zipped, like it had been hurriedly dropped or partially unpacked. She hadn't mentioned staying anywhere the night before, but something about how the bag slouched open felt wrong. When I lifted it to move it, a small item slipped out of a side pocket. It was a hotel keycard sleeve, one of those cardboard ones stamped with the name Harbor Point Marina Hotel. Rachel had told me they were staying in a rented cottage. No tech, no distractions, just the girls reconnecting. The hotel sleeve didn't match that story. I snapped a quick photo and slid it back exactly where I found it. The next night, something else landed in my lap. Unexpected and even more revealing. Out of the blue, I got a message from Miles Ortega, someone I hadn't heard from in years. He'd moved to Denver ages ago, and we hadn't kept in touch. His message was short. Hey, random question. Was Rachel in Harbor Point this weekend? Pretty sure I saw her at that rooftop bar by Bay Street. Didn't say hi. She wasn't wearing a ring. Just curious. I read it over and over until the words blurred. I didn't feel angry, not at first. What hit me was calculation. I took a screenshot and locked it away in a secure folder on my phone. Then I walked into our bedroom, opened the drawer in her vanity, and there it was, her wedding ring. She'd left it behind before even heading out that Friday. Now there were two things that didn't add up: the hotel sleeve and the ring she'd chosen not to wear. I didn't call her, didn't accuse her. I just told myself to stay quiet, pay attention, and start collecting pieces. If she was hiding something, I wanted the full picture. By Sunday morning, I couldn't shake the weight of that keycard sleeve or Miles's message. I didn't want to fight. I needed facts. So I reached out to Clara Nguyen, the girlfriend of one of Rachel's co-workers. She was supposed to be on the trip, too. Hey, Clara, I said, keeping my tone light. Rachel said you all had a great time this weekend. Where did you end up staying? I'm thinking about booking something similar for a future trip. Clara paused, then replied, Oh, we were at the Harbor Point Marina Hotel, the one with the rooftop bar. Rachel didn't tell you? That alone cracked the whole thing wide open. Rachel had told me about a private, off-the-grid cottage. No internet, just wine and laughter. Clara's version was completely different. I kept cool, thanked her for the info, and ended the call. Later, I pulled up our joint bank alerts. A rideshare charge had gone through Saturday morning, starting from the Harbor Point Marina Hotel. Same place printed on that card sleeve. A few transactions later, I spotted a brunch receipt. 2 entrees on one check, just under $40. I documented everything: screenshots, timestamps, photos. By the time Rachel returned that evening, I had everything I needed, and my nerves were steady. She walked in smiling. Miss me? Of course, I said, taking her bag with a calm hand. That unfamiliar perfume drifted off her again, faint but noticeable. She flopped down on the couch, kicked off her shoes. Clara snores like a bear, barely slept all weekend. I laughed right on cue. That bad? The worst, she said. You'd never survive it. I smiled, keeping the truth to myself. She had told me they were renting a secluded cabin. No Wi-Fi, no contact. But now she was talking like they'd shared a hotel room. Her story had changed. Again. I played along. I poured her some wine, asked about their dinners, the gossip, the shopping, just another husband being polite. But every word she said built a puzzle I was already starting to solve. She recited the details effortlessly, like a script she'd gone over a dozen times in her head. While she spoke, I tracked everything. Her words, Clara's version, what the receipts confirmed. Bit by bit, the picture was coming together. On Monday morning, Rachel hummed in the kitchen as she brewed coffee. She gave me a casual kiss on the cheek, as if nothing were out of the ordinary, grabbed her purse and left for work. The moment her car disappeared down the street, I sat down at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. At 2 a.m., I'd already drafted a message to Elena Park, a family lawyer known for handling delicate situations with care. Her firm came highly recommended for keeping things quiet. Without giving myself time to reconsider, I hit send. Elena didn't waste a second during our meeting. She cut right to the point. "Are you gathering evidence or are you preparing to leave?" "Both," I answered. "I don't want her to see it coming." She nodded firmly. "Then don't confront her. Keep your intentions hidden. Start building your case quietly. Transaction records, images, conversations. If she's unaware, you have the upper hand." I left her office with a folder of notes and the first real sense of control I'd felt in days. Back at home, I got organized. I linked Rachel's old family iPad to our shared Apple account. She barely touched the thing. Almost immediately, data began syncing. Calendar entries, backed up photos. Most of it was mundane. Then something popped up, a calendar draft. Dinner at Harbor Point. 2 initials were listed, R and S. Who was S? I decided to probe. That night, while we were in the kitchen, I said, "Thinking about setting up a client dinner Friday. You're free that night, right?" Her answer came too fast. "Yeah, of course, no plans." But that calendar said otherwise. Even her own devices betrayed her story. I made a note in my journal, R+S, Harbor Point, Friday. Another inconsistency, another thread in the unraveling fabric. I didn't need to confront her. Not yet. Each time she slipped, she gave me another piece. I'd gather them all before I made my move. Friday arrived quicker than I expected. At 8:15 a.m., Rachel stepped out of the house, polished and poised, blazer crisp, hair pinned back like she was headed somewhere important. She kissed my forehead. "Don't forget lunch," she said lightly, like I was a child who needed reminding. Then she left. According to her calendar, she had a donor breakfast, but the iPad told a different story. R+S, Museum Cafe, 9:30 a.m. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my jacket, drove into the city, and parked near the museum's front entrance. At 9:42, I saw her. Rachel wasn't alone. A man walked beside her, early 30s, lean, stylish. He wore a leather-strapped bracelet and moved with the quiet confidence of someone who belonged next to her. I raised my phone and snapped a photo, zooming in just enough to capture their hands brushing. Her wedding ring was gone. They sat at an outdoor table. I stayed across the street, half hidden behind a delivery truck. From that distance, I saw everything. The shared laughter, her leaning in too close, her hand resting on his wrist when he joked. Their chemistry was effortless, practiced. This wasn't new. A few minutes later, she pulled out her phone, laughing, and turned the screen toward him. He leaned in. I took another photo. Oddly, I wasn't panicked. My chest was still. It wasn't a question anymore, it was confirmation. When I got back home, she was already changed into sweats, stirring something on the stove. "The donor breakfast ran late," she said casually. "Lots of exciting plans for next season." I leaned against the counter. "Sounds like a productive morning." She rolled her shoulders. "Exhausting, but worth it." Her lie came out effortlessly, like second nature. If I hadn't seen her that morning, I might have believed her. I didn't argue. I didn't accuse. I just smiled and filed her words away under a new note in my journal, "Donor breakfast, lie." By the following week, I had her pattern mapped. Rachel lied smoothly, carried herself like nothing could crack the story, and believed I was still in the dark. That illusion gave me room to maneuver. As we cleared the dinner plates Friday evening, I floated an idea. What would you think about spending next weekend at your parents' lake house? Just the two of us. It's been a while. Rachel paused momentarily, then stretched her arms and forced a bright expression. I'd love to, Tony, but I can't. There's the springboard session at the gallery. I have to be there Sunday morning. I took my time drying a dish, pretending not to read too deeply into it. Board meeting, huh? Got it. She nodded, looking visibly relieved that I didn't dig further. But I wasn't letting it go. Later that evening, while she was absorbed in her phone, I quietly opened my laptop. Earlier that day, using a clean alias, I'd submitted a request to schedule a private consultation at her gallery for that same Sunday morning, just to see what response I'd get. Within an hour, a courteous email arrived. We're closed on Sundays. Please contact us during regular business hours. Now it was no longer a hunch. I had confirmation in black and white. With that, I began taking tangible steps. I rented a small apartment on the other side of the city under my own name, just a 6-month lease. Then I relocated some essentials, my passport, tax documents, and a few personal items I didn't want left behind when the moment came. No drama, just careful planning. Before heading out for a solo weekend at a cabin by the lake, I made one final tweak. In the living room, hidden inside a hollowed-out book on the shelf, I placed a discreet, motion-sensitive camera, completely legal and strategically aimed at the couch. I wasn't expecting a spectacle. I just needed clarity. Heading out early Saturday, I told Rachel that morning. Thought I'd spend some time at the lake, get my head clear. She leaned in, kissed my cheek, and smiled. You've earned it. I drove off with a steady heart. The pieces were already in motion. That evening, once I'd settled into the cabin, I opened my laptop and connected to the camera feed. I wanted to see if the quiet in our home would stay that way. The video came through grainy at first, then sharpened. The living room looked still, exactly as I'd left it. For a couple of hours, nothing. Then, just past 7, the side door opened. Sammy stepped in without knocking, without hesitation, like it was his place too. Rachel met him with 2 glasses already in hand. They settled into the couch, laughing, sitting close enough for their knees to brush naturally. I didn't need audio to catch the undertone. Her posture leaned toward him. She reached out to touch his arm. Once, then again. He murmured something. She tossed her head back, laughing in a way I hadn't seen from her in a long time. I gripped the edge of the desk but didn't move. This was why I installed the camera, to have evidence beyond a shadow of a doubt. Something that couldn't be twisted into my imagination. They didn't stay long. After less than an hour, he kissed her on the cheek, and she walked him out slowly, calmly. No urgency, no guilt, just routine. Rachel wandered back into the kitchen, still smiling to herself. I leaned back in my chair and closed the laptop. I let out a long breath. That was it. The moment everything became clear. No more speculating, no more second-guessing. She'd spoken the truth, not with words, but in gestures that didn't lie. By midnight, I'd arranged everything into neat digital folders. Screenshots, confirmation emails, photos, and now video footage. All of it duplicated to a secure drive, labeled with a single word, exit. Rachel believed she was ahead of me. She thought her story held up. She didn't see the foundation cracking beneath her. That night, I lay down on the cabin bed and, for the first time in weeks, fell asleep without staring at the ceiling. I finally had everything I needed. Now, it was a matter of timing. I waited 7 days. She carried on as though nothing had changed, wearing her wedding ring again, chatting breezily over dinner, planting casual kisses on my cheek as she headed out. She thought the illusion held. That worked to my advantage. On Thursday, I told her, "Let's have a quiet dinner tomorrow night. Just a few people we haven't caught up with in a while. I think it'd be good." She paused briefly, then offered a smile. "Sure. Who's coming?" "Clara and her partner. And Darren," I said evenly. Her brother, Darren Pierce, had always been her defender, but also had a sharp eye. If anyone would cut through her narrative, it would be him. She couldn't say no without looking suspicious, so she nodded. "All right, I'll pick up some wine and flowers." Friday night, she dressed with effortless care and even put on the playlist from our wedding dinner. I set the table, poured the wine, and lit the candles. At 6:15, my phone buzzed once in my pocket. A silent signal. At that exact moment, everyone on my carefully chosen list received an email. It came from an anonymous address. Inside the envelope was a meticulously arranged bundle, screen captures of receipts, pictures taken at Harbor Point, calendar entries marked with Sammy's initials, and a short 30-second video from the living room. No explanations, just raw, undeniable evidence. Rachel was folding napkins when her phone began to vibrate. Then again, and again. The buzz echoed through the quiet space like a warning siren. She glanced down, her expression instantly paling. She unlocked the screen, read silently, and went completely still. I set down my glass of wine and asked, keeping my voice level, "Rachel, where did the Harbor Point keycard come from?" Her eyes widened in shock. "Tony, what did you do?" I asked a question. Her lips parted, then closed, searching for words. Finally, she murmured, "It's not simple." "Not simple," I echoed. "You'll be okay without me," she whispered. "You've done it before." Her eyes welled up, but she said nothing more. She didn't run after me. She didn't plead. She just stood there, framed in the doorway, phone shaking in her grasp, as I turned and walked away. That was the last night I ever slept under that roof. 6 months have passed since I walked out. Now I live in a modest one-bedroom place. Nothing fancy. Everything in it belongs solely to me. No shared spaces, no shared decisions. The quiet here isn't loaded. It doesn't whisper suspicions or hide things between the lines. It's just still. The divorce wrapped up quicker than I had braced for. With what I'd uncovered, there were no drawn-out battles, no messy courtrooms. Rachel signed everything without protest, her movements robotic, like someone who'd already lost the energy to resist. We split what had to be split. No fireworks, just finality. And in that final moment, I felt something I hadn't in a long, long time. A clean, sharp sense of freedom. There's someone new now, Isabella Flores. From the beginning, I laid it all out. No filters, no convenient omissions. She listened, really listened, and didn't flinch. "You did what was necessary," she told me once, her hand resting calmly on mine. With her, I'm taking things slow. No rush, just truth. It feels like starting over, but in the right way this time. As for Rachel, word got to me that she left the gallery. She's now working at an art space on the other side of the city. We haven't exchanged a single word since that night over dinner. I haven't felt the need. Through Darren, I later learned that whatever she had with Sammy, whoever this elusive S really was, didn't last. The thrill faded the second it had to exist in daylight. Turns out, Sammy wasn't interested in building a life, just escaping his own for a while. And when things started getting tangled and real, he walked away. The so-called spark they shared couldn't withstand reality. In the end, Rachel wasn't left with love. She was left with silence. She didn't just lose our marriage. She lost the fantasy that someone like Sammy could ever replace what we had. One evening, while organizing old files on my laptop, I came across a photo I had almost forgotten about, the hotel keycard sleeve. The first crack in the foundation, the initial clue that shifted everything. I looked at it for a long while. Then I deleted it. Because that little slip of cardboard didn't just expose the truth. It was the exact moment she unknowingly handed me my freedom. By removing her ring, by stepping into that hotel, by choosing someone else, she unknowingly gave me the permission I needed to stop pretending. To stop pretending we were still us. I don't carry resentment. I don't want her back either. All I ever wanted was peace. And now, I finally have it. Leaving wasn't a punishment. It was liberation. And the second I closed that door behind me, I knew I was never going to open it again.